At 2020 Fauna Drive, the woods feel incredibly still. It's a quiet 10-acre parcel in northern Minnesota, centered on a home rebuilt in 2019. But if you look closely at the terrain, you begin to see patterns that the forest didn't create on its own. This ground is covered in deep, unnatural markings. There is a sharp V-shaped trench running up the hill, a raised barren plateau, and massive troughs carved directly into the side of the ridge. These features aren't the result of natural water erosion or ancient glacial shifts. This specific 10-acre parcel operated as a decommissioned industrial machine and a frontier superhighway. To see how this ground functioned a century ago, we have to examine the marks left in the dirt. The first major scar is the deeply rutted dirt trail running along the ditch, parallel to modern County Road 33. This is the 1870 White Earth Government Road. The U.S. military built it to move federal troops and supplies as they forcefully relocated Native Americans following the assassination of Ojibwe chief Hole in the Day. By 1892, early pioneers were using this exact path as a horse-drawn mail and stagecoach line. That trail leads directly down to the bridge spanning the outlet between the 7th and 8th Crow Wing Lakes. This narrow crossing acted as a geographic choke point, forcing every group traveling through the region to cross this exact plot of land. On the west side of the bridge stood a 1790s fur trading post, where French-Canadian trappers traded beaver pelts while trying to survive the wolf-infested Mantrap Woods. On the east side sat a massive logging camp, where hundreds of men lived and worked just steps from the property line. The yard marks the exact intersection where Native American conflicts, the fur trade, and the logging industry all met on a single patch of ground. Moving up the hill, we find the second major scar, the raised path and the adjacent borrow pits. This raised path is a logging railroad grade from 1902. Locomotives cannot climb steep or uneven terrain, so the company built this level bed to push trains deep into the forest. To bridge the wet lowland, builders harvested earth directly from the sides of the trail, leaving those deep trenches behind. Trees still struggle to grow on this path because the soil was intensely compacted by multi-ton steam locomotives. The ground remains so dense that roots simply cannot penetrate it. The most prominent feature on the property is the deep trench running downhill toward the lake. This V-shaped gouge is a logging skid trail, a purpose-built industrial ice chute used to slide timber down the hill. Lumberjacks would stack logs on the frozen lake and use draft horses to drag 2,000-pound pines down this steep hill. To keep those logs from accelerating and crushing the horses, road monkeys stood right in this yard, throwing sand onto the ice to create friction. The quiet hillside operated as a highly engineered industrial chute, designed to funnel millions of pounds of timber into the river system. We can see exactly when this industrial operation stopped by looking at a physical timeline growing in the yard. A massive red pine is growing dead center in the middle of the old skid trail. This tree sprouted the same decade the loggers abandoned the chute, marking the exact moment the forest began to grow back. Nature reclaimed the cleared land over the next century, eventually forming this second growth forest that was subdivided for modern homes. Daily life on the property today means moving across ancient glacial till and the physical labor of the soldiers, trappers, and lumberjacks who were here first. The history of 2020 Fauna Drive remains physically etched into the hillside, a record of the people who worked these woods and the landscape they left behind.